and I go there to scout acts, really, well, to see my own act shows, which is crucial, and to try and discover people like Chris Dangerfield. I discovered last year, and I thought, my God, this is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I mean, it's a visceral experience. It's like sort of a Clockwork Orange 3 feet away.
Was that Sex with Children?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, probably the most amazing show I saw at Edinburgh last year. Only very closely followed by Matt Price's own show. The Mary Hill Dinosaur, probably they were the best 2 shows. And I'm being even-handed because I've got nothing to do with Chris Dangerfield. I don't know him personally. I'm not his agent. I've got no vested interest in him whatsoever. I just thought his show was amazing, unbelievable. How he made that show funny, I don't know, but he did. Subject matter was dark, as you could imagine. Yeah, everybody was laughing throughout the whole show, and I came away feeling more like, it's when people see a movie and they say it's changed my life. Chris Dangerfield's show generally made me feel different when I came out than when I went in, and that's very, very rare because I'm a comic and I've been gigging. Well, I've done 4,000 gigs, so when you've done 4,000 gigs, you get blasé. I mean, not blasé. You don't get blasé entirely because you will see an act come out of nowhere and do something amazing, but it's very odd after 18 years on the circuit to see somebody that did something I've never seen before and affect me in a way no other comic affected me before, and Chris Dangerfield did that. It's shocking, it's stunning, but it's just an experience more than a gig. But of course it doesn't suit clubs necessarily, but it's amazing at Edinburgh. So that was something I discovered last year, so that's the sort of reason I go, is to try and discover things like that.
So are there any other shows, DVDs, books that you've come across that you would recommend for maybe like reading purposes or for watching that you think are just superb bits of work that people would learn from?
Well, certainly Chris Dangerfield, I'd recommend everybody sees him if they can.
Hey! Welcome to Dangerfield Sunday Prescription. And that was Simon Kane talking to comedy promoter Jeff Whiting about what sounded like one of the best acts ever. How amazing. It's my trumpet and I'll blow it if I want to, blow it if I want to. You would cry too if it happened to you. Now, if you follow me on the Facebook, you will notice that, well, you will know that I have a new regular guest on the show. That's right, it's Monkey Owl, named by the delightful Michelle Smith of the Dartford Valley. And so I'd like to welcome for the first time, probably the last, Monkey Owl. How are you, Monkey Owl? Oh, lovely. And it says on my notes that you have come to talk about lesbianism. I don't know much about lesbianism. Well, that's the sort of authoritative, professional, specialist expert we're used to. What have you got to tell us about lesbians? They have transsexual children! Do they really, Monkey Owl? And how do you know this? Is this something you've researched? Do you have the paperwork? Do you have a body of evidence? No, I made it up! Oh, okay then, so it's something you've just come off the top of your head. Don't say come off, I don't come! You don't come? What, you've never done a cum? No, I'm not a cummer! Well, are you involved in some kind of tantric sexuality? No, I just don't come! Okay then, I'm thinking, because Sting, you know Sting from the Police! That's him. Not the Metropolitan, not a police force, from the imitation black man reggae outfit, the Police. Is that who you're referring to? That's right! Good. Well, Monkey Owl, it's been lovely listening to you talk about lesbians. Have you got anything else to say about them? They got blue hair and they're fat! Well, I don't think you can say that for all of them. Yes, you can! What, every single one? That seems like a generalisation. Don't call me a generaliser! Well, I've seen videos of the lesbians and they look quite beautiful. Not that kind of lesbian! Oh, there are other types. I mean, I see them kissing and wearing lingerie, and they seem extraordinarily heterosexual, to be honest with you, almost as if they were performing for a heterosexual audience. Not talking about that sort! No, well, I'm not sure. I think I've generalised with the lisp. I've generalised with a lisp. I've generalised by referring to what they call lipstick lesbians, and you've generalised, but the fat ones with the green hair! Where have you met these fat lesbians with green hair? YouTube! So if I was to go to the YouTube and type in lesbians, they have green hair, that's what I'm saying! Listen, Monkey Owl, it's been a real pleasure having you on. And I think you're going to be a great new feature of Dangerfield Sunday Prescription. So it's time to say goodbye. And if you've got anything you'd like to leave the listeners with, then feel free. All right, then. Thanks for listening. Fuck off. Bye, Monkey Owl. Hey. How are you? I'm in an awful rush. I'm not rushing. Oh, I'm coming up, Bill. I'm coming up. Oh gosh. I found out. Well... Someone, let's just say, someone sent me alprazolam API, right? 100 milligrams of alprazolam API. And I thought it was going to be just powdered Xanax. That's what alprazolam, that's the brand name for alprazolam, Xanax. Well, there's a few of them, but that's the most well-known one. And I thought go back in the day when you had a big bag of pills, not a big bag of rolled up poo though, a big bag of these, Jack and Jill ran up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Did you know the song from the movie Grease is about smack? That's right. If you think about it, oh wella, ooh, tell me more. Not that one, the one that goes, And that's what happens when you forget. Can you imagine what it's like coming to one of my gigs? Because that's all it is. It's just me rambling, absolute cack, and occasionally going, I've got to do a fucking gig tomorrow, man. I've been roped into it by the lovely Sarah. Remember we had her on here, the lovely lunatic woman who said, well, I've been doing methamphetamine at the weekend. Oh, it's very nice. Do you remember her? She's on one of them, and she talked about Burt Lancaster using her as a glove puppet by inserting his hand into her child's vagina. Not her child's vagina, but her vagina when she was a child. What a great interview it was. And really, she said, will you do a gig for me, Christopher? And I've had to say yes, and it's some fucking open mic deal, and I've got to actually do it. I don't like doing gigs anyway. I only really do my own gigs, and I've emotionally blackmailed, really, but she is a lovely woman, and she did come round here, and she was very honest and very open, and so I've agreed to do it. And I think I'm just going to go down there and talk about fucking lesbians. Oh, Monkey Owl, go away, get out of the studio. And that's Monkey Owl left the building. There's a song from Greece, and apparently there's a new mythology about it that is actually about heroin. And this is odd, isn't it? I mean, this sort of thing happens. What's you know the Pink Floyd album? Oh, Pink Floyd, imagine. I love Syd Barrett, absolutely. I don't love him, but you know what I mean. I adore the music. All movement is accomplished in 6 stages, and the 7th brings return. For 7 is the number of the young white. It falls when darkness is increased by 1. Change, return, success. Going and coming without ever. Action brings good fortune. Sunrise. Adore Syd Barrett. I could just murder those songs all day long. But Pink Floyd, who got rid of Syd Barrett when he went mad and then wrote a lot of songs about him and got famous, that's a bit bitter, isn't it? He went and lived with his parents in Cambridge, and they went around the world with these huge stadia doing like, all in all, you're just another brick in the wall. I'll tell you what that reminds me of a little bit. Sophie Ellis-Bextor. Do you remember her Posh Pop? A brand new genre of pop music. There's murder on the dance floor. Yes. You better not kill the groove. No, DJ. I've got a head like a satellite dish. So, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Some clever bastard came up with this idea that if you watch it, if you listen to Dark Side of the Moon, I know most of you know this. I don't. I'm just being nice. Most of you don't. If you listen to Dark Side of the Moon whilst watching The Wizard of Oz, the original Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, the really scary one with the ugly green witch, and the house zooms up into the air and it's got all those dreamlike images, and the Tin Man actually died because they painted him with something that had like some fucking strontium 90 or something in the paint, and that horrible bear thing. That's a gross film, but watch it while listening to Dark Side of the Moon, and you have to set Dark Side of the Moon off at the right time. Go on YouTube, type in Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon Wizard of Oz. You know how YouTube works. You'll probably get away with Floyd Oz Dark. Hello, Floyd Oz Dark. That's what I should have called my guest. Fucking Floyd Oz Dark. Here he is, Floyd Oz Dark. My name's Monkey Owl. Sorry, mate. But if you watch that while you're listening to it, it all kind of fits in. And when it goes, run, rabbit, run. Oh, it's so dramatic and angsty. While he sings that, rabbit runs, and and it's like, oh yeah, it really does fit in. I'll tell you now, it does when you're on acid, but then, let's face it, you could watch Clockwork Orange whilst listening to ABBA's Super Trooper and it would fit in on acid. Few bifters and it kind of makes sense. Totally sober at my age, it's like, nah, not really working. But I like those little urban myths. I like those things. I like Bob Carroll G's being the saxophone player in Baker Street. I'll have a saxophone, please, Bob. Love all that stuff. So, Grease, the movie, I'm trying to think what the song is. It's that one that goes... 'Cause my heart is set on you. That's it. You better shape up. Apparently, that's about heroin withdrawal. I'm trying to think of the lyrics. Let's see if we can have a look. Dum 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 dum. This is how it goes. I don't know. Hang on. How does it go? I don't know how it fucking starts. See, this happens at my gigs as well. Awful things stand up. It is when you work like this. I've never written anything down. Not like Socrates. I have written some things down, but not stand-up. I don't never bother. Maybe I should start. I've learnt something and you've learnt something. How does that song go? Dum, 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 dum. It doesn't go like that, does it? Let's just cut in somewhere halfway through. You better shape up, 'cause I need a man, 'cause my heart is set on you. It doesn't sound much like heroin withdrawal to me. And I understand, and my heart I must be true. And in love with it. Yeah. You're the one that I want, you're the one that, ooh, baby. The one that I want, you're the one that, the one I need. Oh, yes, indeed. It's hardly Velvet Underground. It's hardly the Lars. What's that Lars song? What is it? There she goes again, rushing through my veins, and I just can't complain. There's people looking at me outside the window. And of course, across the window last night, someone put the window through a pret-a-manger. It was a political act, no doubt, from Islamic lunatics ISIS. I had a mate visit me the other day. I live in central London. He come in. I haven't seen him in a few, I don't know, fuck knows, maybe 6 months. Good friend, known him since I was 11. His father saw me on BBC Three the other night talking about banging whores. And he wrote to him and went, I've just seen a thing. Did you know your friend had a history of criminal offences and a prostitute use? And then he went home, he blanked the email, and when he got home and his dad went, did you get that email I sent? He was like, no, don't worry about it. And then his mum went, I've been listening to his podcast. So if you're listening, the lovely Mrs. Nelson, mother of Daniel and Paul Nelson of the Dartford Valley, thank you for listening to my podcast. And I'll tell you now, Mrs. Nelson, if you want to come up to Soho for a night out, a little bit of a party, me, you monkey owls coming, that would be amazing. Feel free to drop me a line. But anyway, he's come up to see me, Dan Nelson, his name's Dan Nelson. He popped in and he went, first thing he said, he went, it's a bit rife round here for an ISIS Kalashnikov spraying, isn't it? Nice to see you. Nice. I went, hey, and he went, well, there's a lot of people in it, all that per capita business, per head of space and that. properly rife for a Kalashnikov in, and I don't like that living in fear. I don't like that engineering of fear, and I won't go with it. But I went down Boots earlier, and when I come out of Boots on Piccadilly Circus, there was so many people concentrated. It was like Piccadilly Circus down there, and I just thought, you know what, if you were gonna drop some C4 or go crazy with an AK-47, an A-crazy 47 I like to call them, Andrei Kalashnikov, the finest automatic weapon ever made. Fired one of them I have in Thailand. Fucking wicked, man. And the lovely thing, of course, in Thailand, as you know, I like to call it Lyland, there's no health and safety. They've got the goggles and that there, but they're just sort of on the floor with ants crawling over them, and there's no earmuffs or anything. They just they just pour the fucking rounds out, and they're like one bar now, 100 baht a go, and you fill up the magazine, takes 32 I think, crank it in there, and they just point in a direction, shoot it over there. Fucking wicked. Really exciting. I do like a weapon. It's kind of an amazing thing. There's a beauty in that efficiency. It has been made to kill. That there's something artistic and poetic about the creation or the production of death, isn't there? You know, and the factories that make them. And what's that lovely thing in Lord of War? If you haven't seen Lord of War, a crappy film on the whole, but beautiful opening. It's got that. What's that Vietnam tune? There's something happening. And this is a very musical podcast, isn't it? We love music. Shush, monkey. What's it? There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over all that, and then it's that lovely bit, and it's time to, hey star, watch that sound, everybody look what's going down. Lovely. And it's that tune, and it follows, it's like they've put a GoPro on a Kalashnikov round, so you see the bullet being manufactured, going through the processing, being chucked in a crate, being stolen en route and being dropped off in the Congo, loaded into an AK, the gun's lifted up, you see the travel of a bullet and into some poor kid's skull. Incredible opening to a film. Goes downhill from there. You got that fucking Hollywood lunatic just still pretending, no, not buying him. He's Francis Ford Coppola's grandson or something. What's his name? I can't even remember his name. He used to play Elvis, that Elvis character in Blue Velvet, and fuck knows what I'm talking about. But no, not a good film. But watch the opening credit. Go on YouTube and type in Lord of War introduction. It's very nice. Funny about those war songs, those Vietnam songs. I mean, I was obsessed with the Vietnam War as a kid. Really strange. I mean, I watched Apocalypse Now when it first came out. My granddad nicked a VHS video player from the bloke he lived with. No one had them in those days. I mean, I think this was about 82, 83, and it had a load of videos in it. It had The Exorcist in it. Do you remember The Exorcist in those big cases? It was like an LP where you had all the stuff to read. It was that big, amazing, chunky sort of plastic case, and it had the Exorcist on the cover, holding the actual Exorcist, you know, holding his suitcase with his hat on, and the street light. And outside my mum's house there was a street light, and it really reminded me of The Exorcist. I used to fucking hate it. And it had we had Quadrophenia, fucking great film. Not that good, but great to watch when you're that young, and to sort of embed itself in your mind. And I'm just making sure this piece of shit's recording. And Apocalypse Now, and you know, I'd seen loads of crappy war films, so I thought Apocalypse Now would be much like that. And of course, it's an incredibly dark film that isn't really about war at all. It's about humans, and well, all good films are really about humans, aren't they? If they're not, they fucked up. If it's about a toaster, you've made a big mistake. So yeah, there's just songs that remind you of Vietnam. Have I talked about this before? I may well have talked about this before. I'm a bit worried. When I get to podcast 50, I think I'll have run out of things I know. But be honest with you, I'm such a rambler. You would have not remembered I said them. And even if you had, you'll probably thought that you already knew it. And then you'll be like, oh yeah, I know that, Chris. I know that. That's all right. But you've got Rolling Stones Satisfaction. It reminds you of Vietnam, that one. Everybody stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what that's I just picture the Vietnam War. But of course not the Vietnam War. I picture films about the Vietnam War. And then we get into the whole legitimation crisis and the representation quandary or paradox that we live in. What else have we got there? What's that other one? Buffalo Springfield. On the way, on the road again. I'm on the road again. They're, you know, weird that I have spoken about this. Vietnam has a very strange relationship with psychedelia, and of course there was a lot of acid being taken in Vietnam. There was a hell of a lot of heroin being taken. I think they were saying it's something ridiculous, like 1 in 3 GIs were using heroin, and it was being given to them by the Viet Cong. You know, what a war that is. You know, how can we affect them? Let's just fuck them up. Let's just get them all drugged out of their heads. I can't think of anything worse than going to war full of acid and heroin. I can't think of many things better than acid and heroin, but going to war while on it, Jesus Christ, imagine you're sitting there 19 years old and your best friend's brains spill out of his head and other things associated with 19 bring, ding, 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 Saigon, 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 bring, bing, 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 bring. In World War II, the average age of a combat veteran was 26. In Vietnam, he was 19. 19. As you know, the lovely Charlotte's Vietnamese, and will occasionally, when she walks in, go, Saigon. Saigon. Hey, it keeps me going for hours and hours. Ring. All those who remember the war, they won't forget what they've seen. Destruction of men in their prime, whose average age was 19. Whose average age was 19? 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 Imagine though, Jesus. Fucking hell, man. I remember when it all kicked off, the first Kuwait war. I think I was about 18. 18. In Vietnam, the average age of a combat soldier was 19. In Kuwait, it was 18. And I remember being at home and my mother and my auntie were planning how they were going to take us to the hills. Welsh hills, Wales, man. I'd rather go to war than end up in fucking Methatrindle. I remember sitting there, I've got my little dreadlocks and my stoned eyes, and my mum and my auntie, as if I'm not there, going, well, I think what we'll do, and she's using all these terms that no one had before. I remember my mum saying scud. Scud. She was like, well, I think when they're shelling the scuds. Fuck off, Mum. When did you say shelling? When did you know what a scud was? When they're shelling the scuds, I think we should just drive them off. We'll take them up to Betsy Coed. What? Hang on, steady on. I'd rather go to Q8. Imagine it. Imagine the outfit. When I was that young, I loved the army clothes and all that. I was in army cadets. My old man was in the army, national service, and I kind of had that. You know about my fascination with the special forces. You were never in the special forces. Special fucking needs. Shush, monkey owl. But yeah, I didn't want to be. I just thought it was ridiculous that they were planning to drive us off because America was invading Kuwait, or Iraq invaded Kuwait, and we were going to send a couple of Harriers. Do you remember the Harriers? Remember the Falklands? Jesus. I used to get the magazine called The Elite. Look at the propaganda. This came out like a month before the Falklands. Surely Orbis Publications. Remember Orbis Publications? Buy issue 1 now for 10p. Get issues 1 to 60 for free. And this amazing camouflage binder. Show your strength. Show your elite. Issue 2, 90 quid. Amazing. But I got it, The Elite. And on the cover it had this soldier, obviously. And I used to absolutely love it. And in issue 1, it had the whole of the Iranian embassy when the SAS stormed the Iranian embassy. And it was utter bollocks because their version of events, honestly, check out this, dig it out. They were saying that the special forces, the SAS, Maggie's boys. Do you remember that psychopath Thatcher? And she was right going through her long, thin nose and fucking Ativan eyes. And she was like, "Oh, they're my boys. Fuck off. You're sending these people in to kill." It's a bit like Osama bin Laden. Tried for nothing. No due process. They killed him, dumped him in the sea. Oh, that's all right. That's what I want governments to do. Just go and kill people. Just because it was Osama bin Laden, don't think they'll give two fucks if it's you. That Brazilian lad who walked on a train, all he done was be Brazilian and walk on a train. They turned up, filled him full of lead from a Heckler & Koch German-made semi-automatic, same weapon as the SAS. Takes me back nicely to that. Maggie's boys. Oh, a round of applause from outside. How exciting! And so, they were talking about how they peeled the bricks back very slowly, so there was only plasterboard between them and the terrorists in the Iranian embassy. And then when it came to storm it, they just sort of jumped through the wall. Imagine you're sitting there, which is Iranian for "I hope the special forces, Maggie's boys, don't jump through the wall." And then they just come through. Jesus, it would have been insane. But that, of course, isn't what happened. What actually happened was they fucked it up. Because for all the myth-making about the SAS, they trained them by chopping off their head, rolling their head down a hill, and making the headless cadaver run down and find it. And only if they put the correct head on. You can't put one of your friends' heads on. No, it has to be your own, not Wurzel Gummidge. Hello, Sally. Hello, Sally. I wouldn't do Una Stubbs now, but I would back in the day. But all this bullshit about them, what actually happened was, the first one, he's come down the abseil, he's got caught up in it. His legs got caught up in it. Go onto YouTube, type in Iranian Embassy, SAS Siege. You'll see he's just hanging from his leg. The grenade goes off, there's a fire. He's almost burning to death. This is the Special Needs Forces. And then they jump in, then one of them gets dead man's trigger. Do you know what dead man's trigger is? That's right, you can think of it. It's when you lift up your fucking high precision Heckler & Koch German-made semi-automatic rifle, pull the trigger, it's jammed. When you got a bloke aiming a gun back at you, you can see why it's called the dead man's trigger. But that wasn't a worry, because there was more of them, and they just filled those fuckers. Not saying that was right or wrong. Don't know enough about it to tell you that. But I know that each of the terrorists had about 100 rounds in them. They were cutting half with a Band-Aid. No, they were cutting half with a machine gun and giving a Band-Aid. They weren't cutting half with a Band-Aid and giving a machine gun, although in my world, that would be delightful. Of course, I've omitted one of the most interesting facts about the entire siege of the Iranian embassy, and that was the fatal shooting of Trevor Locke. Yeah. You know my mate Trevor Locke, the comedian? He got killed at the Iranian embassy. Put it into Google. They killed Trevor Locke. He was a policeman at the time. This was long before he got into comedy. See, a comedian's journey is many different things, and for Trevor it meant becoming a policeman and getting killed live on the television in 82, I think it was 82, and coming back to life as a comedian. So there you go. That was one hell of a myriad of tangential ridiculosity. So I was telling you about the alprazolam API, wasn't I? So I got this fucking stuff, and I just thought it'd be the powder in the bottom of the bag, and that's what I thought it was. And I thought, well, I'll just dip my finger in that at the weekend and have a dozy one on the Xanax. And I nearly did it last night, but I had work to do, and I thought, oh, fuck it, I'll save that till the weekend. Maybe have a bit with the lovely Charlotte. Saigon. And by just out of chance, I went to meet a mate today. I got this little bag of powder in my little box, and I went to meet a mate, and he was a bit late. So while I was there, I thought, I like to know my things. I like to know 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 if you can ride dinosaurs. I like to know if Tony Blair ever rode a dinosaur. Did you ride a dinosaur into Kuwait? Did you have weapons of mass dinosaur? So I'm sitting outside Bar Italia, and I thought, what's API? What's that mean? I know what alprazolam is. What's API mean? So I've typed it in, and it's come up. Oh, fuck it, I've forgotten. I like to know things. I like to know things. I don't know. I think it was something like active, psychoactive ingredient. You might have noticed my voice has gone a bit far away now, because while I'm pretending to remember, I'm actually typing it in to the computer. Monkey Owl, can you tell me what API means? active pharmaceutical ingredient. There you go, active pharmaceutical ingredient. And I suddenly think, hang on a minute. So when you get a 2 milligram bar, that's how the Xanax come in it in bars, unless you get the 1 mils. If you get a bar, it weighs 2 milligrams, but that's the weight of the bar, and that's plenty of filler. The active pharmaceutical ingredient, the API, is like a nothing. It's like a tiny little crystal, a million magic crystals, painted pure and white, a multi-million dollars, almost overnight, twice as sweet as sugar, twice as bitter as salt, and if you get hooked, baby, it's nobody else's fault. So it turns out it's so pure. Like I was thinking, I'll probably have like a 0.2 of a gram. 0.2 of a gram of alprazolam API is the equivalent of 40 milligrams of Xanax. So 22 mil bars. And I thought, oh, that was close. And I read on some of the trip reports on like Erowid and what is it, Opiophile, what's the other one, Blue Light, all those narcotics forums. They were all saying that fucking throw it away, because some other bloke said, I've come across 100 milligrams of alprazolam API. I was wondering, how do I mix this up with some baking soda and stick it in some capsules to sell? And every single person went, mate, throw it away. Just save yourself a load of trouble. Just throw it away, because if you fuck it up, and some of the stories were absolutely incredible. Some of the things that people had done. He said that one bloke had done so much of it by accident, same as me, probably just stuck his finger in and thought, this is better than eating a tablet, dubbed it on his tongue. He said he'd done so much, he forgot that he took any Xanax, carried on with his life, and proceeded to fuck it up for the next 3 weeks. Turned up at work sort of thing, just gouching out, got in his car, crashed it, told his wife, I don't love you, what's your name? All that sort of thing. And like other people they had like 1,000 milligrams of it, took a couple of dabs. They've done 40 milligrams of Xanax, and 40 milligrams, and then just carried on. Just were so fucked, they just kept having it until they realised they'd been on it for 4 months, had barely ate, had lost their jobs, hadn't paid their rent, and of course then went into withdrawals. Benzodiazepine withdrawal is without doubt the worst. It's absolutely the worst. Alcohol withdrawal with medication to help you, you're over the worst of it in 4 days. Heroin withdrawal, even with no meds, you're over the worst of it in a week. In 6 weeks, it's good night. You'll have a little bit of trouble sleeping, but that's no dramas. Benzodiazepine withdrawal, the acute phase is like 3 months. Woo-hoo-hoo! You ain't sleeping for about a year. Woo-hoo! A fucking year. A year! I'm telling you, I've done that sort of shit so much. You're not going to survive that. No way. You're just going to go, fuck this. Give me a Valium. I'm not doing this. You cannot sacrifice a year. One bloke on one of them, he said, he was talking about his mate who'd ended up with 100 mics of this stuff and had just gone into the Xanax hole, so to speak. And he went, he reported a deeply pleasurable experience of which he regrets immensely. And there's the contradiction of life. You can put the world into You can put the world in loveness, but don't. You can share your cylindric with the priest, if only on Mary Magdalene's lies. Might you feel the darkness? Feel the movie of your life. when will you sell a beret to me? I wouldn't wear it, I wouldn't wear it. When will you sell your conductor's stick? I wouldn't wear it, it's called a baton. You know what? It's been an absolute pleasure, but I've got her coming round. Saigon. The average age of the missus was Saigon. So I gotta go. I gotta jump into the bath and scrape the dirty filth from my soul. And I would suggest you do the same too. Listen, we need more fucking listeners. I need more. Please just share it. Share it. Can you share it? Can you share a little? Give a little. Love a little. Learn to skittle. That's it. Done. All dried up. Dried up. Girl, you're turning me. All dried up. I really should stop, but I can't.
Tour de France, see you later, much.